Great, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. There are several items on the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or does someone have something they want removed?
Okay.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll take a second.
That.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving right along to agenda item number 10, receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division report, including update on the wastewater strategic plan and an update on infrastructure funding.
So the only update I have is on the strategic plan. You have a couple sets of minutes in your packet, another set of minutes up here. Two are from the progress meetings, one's from the stakeholder meeting. A lot of good data to go through. Key point though is in November 2nd is the next stakeholder meeting. So between November and January, we're going to have a lot of discussions with y'all on the path forward for this strategic plan. A lot of information on costs, technologies, alternatives, kind of like the wrap up of the whole thing. So early next year, we can start getting direction from y'all.
Okay.
So,
Any questions?
yeah, I have a question
Okay.
for Chris on page 30. I guess this has been on my mind a little bit, so I thought since we had a quiet, relatively quiet meeting today, report of water usage. You know, the usage of groundwater is summarized as a single number by from all that you RP people. Is there any way to break that down so we can see where that usage is by the GRP participants? Who's pumping what?
There is, let me think about that.
Yeah.
If I can do something that's concise, because there's 149 systems.
Oh, I know,
and that-
I know.
That's a lot of data.
Well, I was thinking maybe grouping low volume users and large volume users. That's or
Something like that.
some or ultra high volume users, if you
Yeah,
will.
maybe I can break it up in some way or so. Okay.
Yeah, just so we know where the groundwater is going. At least that's from my perspective. I don't know about my colleagues, but I seem to be bearing a single number.
I can look at that and see. Now, this is the GRP report,
Right.
which doesn't matter. It's a good thing to see.
You're the boss, right?
Yeah, sometimes, as long as Ed's not here. No, it's a good report.
Talking for the mess.
Break out the other one. So
Yeah.
let me see what I can do with that.
Appreciate that.
2080 rules for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just so we have a sense.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Anything else? Item number 11, receive our attorney's report.
Just in time inventory.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
I don't have anything general to cover with y'all. I do have a couple of other items 12 and 14. Okay, item number 12, the investment policy. As you know, the Public Funds Investment Act requires for boards to conduct an annual review of their policies. Our firm conducts the review on behalf of all of our district clients, and we make recommendations to our boards as to whether there are any changes that need to be made for that particular year. This year, there are a handful of minor revisions you'll see in a red line in your packet, red deletions, blue additions. Happy to answer questions if you have them. But we do need a motion to approve the resolution evidencing the annual review of the policy and to adopt the revised policy number 1010.
I have one quick question.
Yes,
You changed the payroll personnel representative to accounting manager. Was there a reason for that?
that was just to better reflect Maureen's role.
Okay.
And the changes in section M, that's coming from state law.
Yep, it's coming from state law. We got to have that in all of our contracts that
Oh, okay.
vendors don't boycott energy companies and firearm companies and yeah.
Okay.
That's coming from the legislature.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, I'll put a motion to adopt a resolution to amend the policy and authorize the changes indicated in the document as shown by our legal counsel.
Great, thank you.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Are you going to move on to item 14?
If y'all want to go ahead and have discussion on 13.
Okay,
Yeah, if I may,
of course.
recognize, we're trying to follow Robert's rules here, I guess. The question was, as we're a somewhat mature district and we have, upcoming infrastructure requirements for replacement of, and repairs, should we kind of ensure that our reserves are such that we can manage an unexpected issue in addition to the planned issue? And I think the number was around 6 months or so, or actually more. But I'd appreciate, and I'm sure we all would, some advice as to what we should be doing, how we should plan for that circumstance using the reserves.
The standard in the mud world is 6 to 12 months. Your financial advisor, I think, would support that, and for a number of factors. We have found that it works well over the years as a reasonable reserve, and the older the district, the closer to 12 months we recommend at staff level. That number would cover most, repairs, rehabs that would need to be done on a short-term emergency type basis. Bigger things, a rehab of the whole sewer system, or the River Authority is looking at replacing asbestos. We're looking also at asbestos in our mud facilities. Something that could be a big ticket item. My recommendation would be to look at public financing for that. If you're gonna rehabilitate something that's gonna extend the service life 30, 40, 50 plus years.
So bonding authority.
That would be something that I would recommend.
Okay. Okay, well, that would be the topic for conversation as we get closer to that circumstance.
Yeah, as we get a little more information on AC, I don't even think the AC that needs to be replaced in most of the muds is that level of expense, or that it's not, certainly not in the 4 or 5 year plan, in my opinion, for our muds. But
And that seemed to come out of that report, August 2022. Okay.
So we currently have 6 months in reserves.
Page 9, actually 8.8 at the moment.
Budget 2.7. Okay, that's what.
Yeah, so it seems like, we're at a comfortable level, but the point about public financing, I think, is an important one. So big ticket. So that would be in the millions.
And if you're going to extend the life by 30 or 40 years,
Yeah.
it would make sense.
Major capital expense, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
We're taking no action, so
Oh,
it's
no.
just a discussion.
Correct.
We're all prepared for the time down the road
right,
when we have to deal with it.
okay. Any other discussion?
Hmm.
Okay. All right, item 14.
All right,
Go back to
we
14.
have
Yeah,
a,
right.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, excuse me.
We've got an updated version of our agreement with Holly Oaks for service by the district. You recall, we've had an agreement with them for, how many years? Long time. Oh, very long time. It's generally been in 5-year intervals that they come back and we update it. So based on discussions with Mike, we now want to have our own meter there and be able to read that versus have them have one that they take care of that we just access. And so we modified the agreement, the new version of the agreement, to incorporate that change. Also gives us an out if we need it, notwithstanding the 5-year additional term that we can provide. We can terminate service with it without cause on 90 days notice. And then you'll see all the boilerplate language from the legislature. It'll look familiar to you and what we just covered.
Right.
So that's what all the rest of this is. And that last paragraph just says that this agreement supersedes the prior agreements with the applicant, including the last one we had in 2017.
Brian or Mike or Jim, will this be an AMI meter? That's hence the $2,600 for the cost.
Yes.
And then who will benefit from an AMI meter out there? If it's,
Well, the owner of the village should, because if they're, responsible for paying the bill, then they're gonna wanna know, I would think, if I was them, if there's a leak internally or excessive usage internally.
and the
And
owner,
it eliminates manual reading that they
Mhm.
have been covering or doing.
Yeah.
And it's the more accurate meter for us.
Is that a 2-inch, 4-inch, or what size meter?
2-inch.
2-inch? Okay.
and the owner is Houston International Realty LLC. One has to wonder what the end game is for that geography.
I don't know.
Not going to be a mobile home park. Or,
Yeah, it's just cash flow. At some point, there will be a higher and better use.
Mhm.
And whenever the market.
That's the one on sawdust, right?
You can see it, see it off of sawdust. I don't even know how many units are in there.
25.
25.
Oh, gosh, I wouldn't have thought there was that many.
25 trailers, 25 spots.
Let's go deep down. Interesting.
There's a nice food truck almost adjoining that area, right? Have you seen a little food truck enclave? They got Peruvian food, Colombian food. I mean, all kinds of little goodies out there that you, and they're proud of their prices too, because we just did a walk by and said, oh, maybe next time, maybe not.
Zipcot, right?
So
Thank
we
you.
need to approve this.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve? the
So moved.
application? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
I think that's all I have.
General Manager's report.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Happy to finally get released to drive and turn to work. And I'm still doing physical therapy and I have a follow-up tomorrow with my surgeon. Let's see where we go from here, but going in the right direction.
Good to hear.
Couple of things to highlight from our trustee meeting. I reported that we continue to have discussions with the University of Houston and their geoscience department regarding a recent news releases. You may have seen about what I'm calling satellite imagery that is measuring subsidence from coastline up through College Station. They have reported that they can, I guess, do a more detailed analysis of that data to where there may be some benefit to the woodlands in Montgomery County with some data, refined data. I invited Dr. Neil Gaynor to sit in on the last meeting, and I'd be happy to have your thoughts and to share with your group if you have any today.
Yeah, I sent you, Jim, the list of questions I had
Yes.
for the U of H folks. And for the most part, they gave some pretty good answers, and there will be some follow-up. But one of the questions I have when you look at their display of the data, that's kind of a time-lapse motion movie going from 2016 to 2020, I believe are the dates or the years. I'm not quite seeing, shall we say, the claim that the woodlands is a hotspot. And I've got an example here. I just did a screen capture. The warm colors, the brighter colors, and just pass around for the directors and anyone else wants to look. This is in color, so I printed it off myself. Gets expensive. Anyway, the real big hotspot is Katy, and of course they're growing like gangbusters down there, and their only source is groundwater. So they're going down faster than Venice, I think. But there's an arc extending up to the northeast. And when you look where the woodlands is, since we are now at that, over that time period, have a mix of surface and groundwater, it would seem to me anyway, that that hotspot is not so concentrated in the woodlands as it's claimed. It said it's to the east of I-45, spraying and north of the Grand Parkway and heading out towards, I guess it must be getting close to Liberty County out there, or far eastern Montgomery County. And you can see on this where I-45 is, where 59 and the little blue line wiggling down past Willis down to past Humble. That's the West Fork of the San Jacinto. So I'll pass that around. So with that little question that's up there, and of course you got the newspaper article. I have a physical newspaper. I get that.
Wow.
There's also in a,
You have the headline on the third page, the top study suburbs showing signs of sinking.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that is a fair summary, but where and how fast? And you go on, and there was some comments made by a resident of Woodlands that, shall we say, I don't go further into that. But there's, some information I think that we have to really get our arms around to make sure the residents are well informed about the work that's being done to, certainly in the woodlands, to mitigate the worst impacts of subsidence as related to groundwater pumping. And I think with the 50-50 blend, we're going to see I think a positive impact. I know there's been a significant amount of groundwater pumping because of the drought this past year, but we'll just have to hopefully hold ourselves to that approximate ratio through this financial year. That is the goal for certain, and I think it was good of the trustees to move forward with that as this is our aim. This is what we want to do. But yeah, there's some elements of that story in the Chronicle that I think need to be looked at more carefully.
the NBC Houston affiliate was on 6 o'clock news.
Yes.
That was the focus, and the focus within subsidence was in the woodlands, and a resident was interviewed during that process, and
Yeah.
very, very leading inferences. Mhm.
Yeah. I would agree with you there.
Almost to the point where I want to buy in the woodlands. I was a new
Well, I wasn't
potential
gonna
resident.
necessarily go down that road, but there are implications for quality of life and property valuation by implication. So it's not just the science, Jim. It's the socioeconomic world that we need to look at. And I have had discussions with Jim, and I'm suggesting we really do need a technical project manager type of situation here. And I want to see a merger of not only University of Houston, but also Southern SMU, Southern Methodist, because they did an earlier study that showed the subsidence in the woodlands when we're only using groundwater. Now we've got the world of using the blend of surface and groundwater, and it's a changed world. But we need to, I've been always saying that our aquifers are quite sensitive. We've got to manage our resources very carefully to achieve the kinds of results we're aiming for, which is the best quality life and maintaining our property values and so forth. So, yeah.
So I guess part of the takeaway is we're still working to see if the data is something that would be helpful to the woodlands and our community, and still in discussions, but more to come.
I look forward to this, and I think, if I may, the Public Education Committee really, I think we will look at this as to a means to inform our citizenry about what is going on and how we're trying to mitigate woodlands water, and all the directors are trying to mitigate the worst impacts of subsidence. So, yeah.
Very good. The other item we talked about was the infrastructure, millions and millions that we're looking at through the River Authority over the next 10 years, rehabilitating what we're calling critical infrastructure renewal, bonding type items, public finance type items. We are laying a strategy for that it would be proposing a separate line item on the MUD retail water bills that would be labeled critical infrastructure renewal rehab, something along those lines that would be a revenue that we would collect that would be for one purpose, to retire that debt or cover that the debt service for those bonds. But we want to get an idea of what that number might look like is to the average homeowner. So I'm recommending that we target a meeting in November, December with their finance advisors and our audit budget committee to bring back some information to the trustees sometime in probably January, February. Then we also at the Public Education Committee have talked about what was referred to when the One Water Task Force was meeting on a regular basis. We had talked to HARC about creating a public information, public education portal for groundwater, surface water, stormwater, where residents could go and get information and could do as deep a dive as their interest generated. And that stalled when the One Water Task Force quit meeting, and there's an interest in kind of looking at that portal. I have a proposal from HARC. We're going to be looking at funding partners to try to see if we can get that information put together and published, or put as what we call a portal on the web for residents. I did report that our negotiations with TACUS for the outstanding system damages has stalled somewhat. I'm reaching out to some higher ups in the management organization there to see if we can get through this. I hope we can. More to come on that. And then we also talked about a monthly water bill comparison that you may have seen on social media at the Public Education Committee. That was recommended that we adjust the tax rate that we had listed for MUDs in the township to include a weighted average for the MUD districts, which we did. Found another error or adjustment we needed to make for Oak Ridge North. And so you may have seen that recently in the social media post. And that concludes my report.
To follow up from Jim, I mean, our circumstance here in the Woodlands looks very favorable compared with other municipalities in the area. For example, if I may, just for a second, if you haven't seen it, Oak Ridge North, the monthly, this is for 10,000 gallons of water used monthly, 6,000 gallons of sewer with any surface water fee charges. It's 171 over there with a tax rate of 44 cents per 100. Conroe 146 or almost 43 cents in the tax rate. Woodlands 92, just over $92 monthly for the water bill, and 33 cents, a little over 33 cents for per 100 for the property tax rate. So, I think the Woodlands Water Agency and the way the MUDs are able to operate, I think it's a relative bargain for our residents.
Do you have Harris County as well?
Oh, City of Houston. Well, it's the top of the list. $185 a month and 53 cents per 100. Now, of course, a big piece of that water bill is surface water that's being pumped distance. So, and there's a lot of treatment involved. So it's the most expensive water you can get, right? Am I correct, Chris?
That would involve our Creekside Village users.
Exactly.
Not
no,
City of Houston rates, because they also
Yeah.
include the cost of maintaining their infrastructure they may have some bonds, but that's all for City of Houston residents. So Kingwood's paying that, but if you're receiving surface water from the regional water authorities in Harris County and Fort Bend County that buy their water from the city of Houston's surface water treatment plant, there is a component of that surface water fee or GRP fee that is included within those regional water authority fees. But that's just what a particular city or MUD that's a part of that GRP is paying. They're not necessarily paying the city of Houston.
The city just, yeah,
Okay,
just within the city.
yeah, okay, yes, thank you.
Isn't Katy in the boundaries of the subsidence district?
Well, yes, but the subsidence district is not providing, they're not providing GRP or regional water, surface water. There's overlapping. These regional water authorities in Harris County and Fort Bend County overlap the subsidence district.
But I'm wondering how Katy can still be on 100% groundwater and be pumping.
Well,
so
so
much.
what's got, I mean, because a lot of that west side of Houston is part of the West Harris County Regional Water Authority. I've got a number of districts that we represent that is in the west. And I can't recall offhand if Katy is in that GRP or not, but if they're on 100% groundwater, it would have to be because they were in that GRP and they meet their conversion requirements to comply with the subsidence district by being a part of that other GRP. Same way that a lot of 100% groundwater users were able to meet compliance when there was a compliance requirement for Lone Star by being in the river authorities. GRP. That was the whole point of the GRPs, was just build the infrastructure as efficiently as possible to hit the most number of homes or businesses that can convert without spending large amounts of money to go and convert smaller users. It's more efficient to have a big umbrella. Some folks will be 100% groundwater, some will be 100% surface water or 90% surface water. But on the aggregate, you're hitting your 30% reduction or whatever the metric is that you need to hit for reduction.
Okay, again, concludes my report.
Okay,
So I did have, sorry.
no,
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a question, I guess mostly to Mike. So the projects in review, there's a couple of different projects from MUD 6, Revero multifamily. And then we also have the Revero storm sewer realignment. Now that was the project that I think Howard Hughes.
Dan Pokhorst, that
Dan.
last month.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Okay, and they're covering that cost.
That's correct.
Okay, and then what is the other one? The Revero multifamily?
I think that's the geography that we were talking about,
Right.
just south of Cynthia Woods Mitchell Pavilion.
Yeah. On the waterway.
That's the prime time land.
Oh, okay, so it's that infrastructure there's the realignment and then there's the infrastructure for that project. Thank you. And then I've got one for Jim and Chris. So in that August water pipe evaluation report, there was a site 3 down there on Sawmill Road, fire hydrant where a pressure gauge, transducer, whatever was installed. And it was taking a time series of pressures in the water, the 8-inch asbestos concrete water line. And then the author of the report noted that there were spikes thought to be related to pumps being switched on, and then there's a drop. Mm-hmm. So you had I guess, for want of a better term, kind of a water hammer in the system. But that's coming from what, water plant 2, or where would that be?
Water plant 1 on /Pine.
/Pine.
So it'd have to go way through to get over there.
Okay, is there any, I mean, the implication of what he was saying, certainly in regards to the PVC pipe, is that over time, a long period, to be the potential for failure, but they don't have enough data on the asbestos concrete, other than to make a probability of failure based on the past. But the question is, if you have these water hammer, eventually you could have failure in even the retail system.
Right.
So the question that I wanted to ask was, is there any means of dampening out the pressure pulse when a pump comes on and when it shuts off? So you got a positive and a negative.
Yeah, I mean, look at that, because it may create too much back pressure on the pump if we do something to dampen it, but.
Okay, well, I just wondered if
Well, because some of it too is, fire hydrants. When they're open and closed too quick, you know, the fire department or just, you know, when we're flushing or whatnot, so.
yeah, he called it demand oscillation rather than the fire department just. Yeah. Yeah, a good engineering term. So,
Yeah, I have to look that one up.
yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty clever, so. But I'd rather have the firemen put out the fire
We've
quick.
got some pressure gauges. I think maybe we could do some double checking, if you will.
Yeah.
Of that area, just to see what we get and report that back.
We can correlate it to when our pumps kick on to see if it is the pumps or if there's a delay of 20 hours or so.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an interesting phenomenon. Just, you're going along and there's a spike. So, yeah. So that's
Very good.
Trustees report.
Yeah, well, Jim has pretty much covered it. I mean, I think we're going to be perhaps taking up some on the Public Education Committee, some more issues to, for example, this past week, to ensure that our residents are well informed. So anyway, that's if you read it, if you have questions, please ask me or Jim.
Okay. Is there any reason to go into executive session? Okay. And are there any matters for the future agenda that you'd like to see next month or future? Okay. Meeting adjourned.